Honorable Men Discord. Comedian Godfrey questions whether or not there's a coon contract out there and whether or not Jason Whitlock has signed that contract. Let's talk about it. Thank you for joining me once again on another episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. So, coon contract. That's the title of today's episode. So, comedian Godfrey, which if you don't know, he used to be featured on Vlad TV for some time, but outside of that, he has his own show. I believe it's on YouTube. I think he's hilarious. But one thing I respect about him is you could find a lot of different uh, short videos where he just speaks his mind on any topic. Anything that he feels is not spoken on correctly, he addresses it. He's somewhat of a comedian slash activist in to some sort. But in any event, he responded to Jason Whitlock, who this particular video that I have to my side, he responded to this Jason Whitlock video from Jason Whitlock's show Harmony, and he was completely disgusted by it. But I'm gonna first play Jason Whitlock and what he had to say, and this is towards the tail end of that episode for Harmony, Jason Whitlock's Harmony. So if you're interested in seeing the whole thing, I may put the link in the description. If not, you could see it, or you could just look it up on your own. But Jason Whitlock has covered the Sinners movie, I want to say two times. First on Harmony, and then again he has a panel of three other gentlemen there speaking with him. So Jason Whitlock, he has free range to speak about whatever he chooses to speak about, as do I, and as do many others. Now, Jason Whitlock did not enjoy the Sinners movie, which is fine because not everyone has to like the movie just because it's doing well in the box office. But the issue that Godfrey has with Jason Whitlock is that it seems as though he's cooning. And what does Godfrey mean by cooning? He just feels as though Jason Whitlock is intentionally choosing to thrash the movie because it was a movie that was produced by a black director starring in a pretty much predominantly black cast. So for that reason, Godfrey feels like he's cooning. But I'm gonna let Godfrey speak for himself. I'm not gonna paraphrase any further about what his stance is on this. But let's just get straight to the clip from Jason Whitlock. Once again, this is the tail end of his Harmony episode, and this is about 7 minutes and 34 seconds, and this entire thing was 9 minutes, but this is 7 minutes and 34 seconds in. So let's get to that.
Final question, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for the time. I know you probably haven't seen as many black movies as I have. I've seen a lot because I'm interested in what Hollywood is targeting at young black people, and it's just my sensibilities. I found this movie, Sinners, to be the most nakedly racist movie that I've ever seen. That's my takeaway, and it's akin to Birth of a Nation. And we've listened to black people and black...
I just have to interject real quick. First and foremost, I'm battling the allergies, so excuse me if you hear me, struggling through my nasal issues. What I did not play is, in this episode, Whitlock chose to make a comparison between Sinners and what's going on in Texas with the Metcalf family and the Carmelo case. If you're not familiar with that, I covered that at least 2 to 3 episodes. I didn't even want to go into that again. I had more than enough experience going into that what I thought on that. But this is just an example of, and I actually like Jason Whitlock, his Harmony show. But like all things, like my channel, also, I don't expect everyone to agree with my stance on things, but we're talking about a fictional movie, and he somehow, in the beginning of this particular episode, he somehow is trying to make comparisons to the Sinners movie and a real life situation, a real life tragedy that took place in Texas, where Carmelo Anthony used a knife and took the life of Austin Metcalf. But I'm not going into that. But my thing is, he lost me when he started doing that at the beginning. Because what are you doing? All right, let's stay on track with your thoughts on the movie, and you could speak on what you didn't like about it, what wasn't clarified enough as far as the storyline, but to bring in the whole situation that happened in Texas, I just thought that was disgusting. That alone, I feel like it is disgusting. Now, I fast forwarded through that so we can get to the part that I'm at right now, where he's gonna continue to thrash the movie. All right, so let's get back to it.
Historians talk about the evilness of Birth of a Nation and what it did and blah blah blah, and I don't disagree with him. It was programming and propaganda. I just don't understand how we can't see this movie Sinners and other movies that are not quite as nakedly racist, but they all flirt with this. Why? And I don't know the example in the last 30, 40 years, 50 years. Where's the example of the anti-black movie that is this nakedly racist towards black people? I can't think of the example. It's only promoted and only approved if it's headed one direction. Have I missed something? And
This is what I think he missed, and I'll help him figure out if he missed something. Has he missed something? Nakedly racist. First of all, I've never heard anyone use that term, nakedly racist. First of all, the title of the movie, the fictional movie that we're talking about, Sinners, is called Sinners, right? So nakedly racist. It's a fictional movie, and it took, obviously, it also incorporated some real life situations, for lack of a better word, real life examples of things that took place during that timepiece. But it's still a fictional movie. We're talking about a movie with vampires here. What exactly are we talking about, Jason Whitlock? What exactly are we talking about? This is a fictional movie with vampires. I'm sorry if I spoil anything as I go through my thoughts in this episode, but it's a fictional movie about vampires. The vampire at one point actually took flight for a few seconds, but you're saying it's nakedly racist. How exactly is it nakedly racist? First and foremost, was Django racist? I won't use the word nakedly because I don't know. I think he's saying nakedly racist because of the how vulgar it was at times. There were certain scenes where it's vulgar, but hey, it wasn't for kids. My question to Jason Whitlock was Django racist? Because Django wasn't a true story either. Django was directed by, if I'm not mistaken, Quentin Tarantino. Right? If I'm not mistaken. I like to be certain. I'll get back to that. So, was Django racist? Now, the thing about Jason Whitlock as a black man saying it's nakedly racist, how exactly can, and by all means, anybody who disagrees with what I'm saying, I'll see you in the comments. As always, let's keep it respectful. How exactly can black people be racist? Right? We're the minority, and we're not the majority, and we're not in control. All right? Yes, you might say, you might point out some successful people. You might say, oh, Oprah, we have this. Why do some black people still act like it's You could throw out all the successful black entertainers and some of the, some of the people that are not well known. You could say attorneys, doctors. We're still the minority. We're not in places of power. All right. And that's not to say if we were in the places of power, we would manipulate it as we once experienced by oppressors. That's not even to say that. But my point is, we're not in the position of power. And if anyone is going to sit here and say that we're in positions of power, like we're in power over other nationalities, I'll see you in the comments. This is how is this film nakedly racist to the point where it's going to somehow change the trajectory of the way the world is ran right now. Racism comes from a place of power. Black people are not in power. Yes, we have some successful black people, but we're not in power. And if you disagree with me, I'll see you in the comments. Please explain to me how we're in power. And you might say we have freedom to exercise. We have rights that give us power, rights to vote, things of that nature. We have freedoms to go to school, educate ourselves, but we're not in positions of power, overall power. So how are you talking about a film called Sinners, a fictional film called Sinners, and talking about it's nakedly racist? How is it nakedly racist? Why? Because in the movie they denied um, what seemed to be Irish white men and women from entering the barn. So that part is racist, but the part where before they even got to the barn to set up and they were on the road, they stopped at a cotton field and black people were picking cotton. It's insane to me that he's taking it there and talking about it's nakedly racist. So the images that were more real in nature, which is the black people in the field picking cotton, that's not racist, right? That's not racist. That's the part of history that, first of all, when I came up in school, no one even really, they never dived into that part of our history. All right. And I could go on and on about that. This kind of upsets me the more that I think about it, because the way black history was taught to me when I was younger, it was like they gave me teaspoons of information on black history, what they wanted me to know. And I'm talking about the education system. It's before anyone says, oh, you sound racist saying they. All right. First and foremost, I was never taught by black teachers. And you could say, oh, well, that's their fault. They should have learned. They should have been, you have opportunity. There's black teachers out there. The point of the matter is, black history, when I was coming up, was never fully taught to me. I learned most of the other stuff on my own as I got older. But here you have a black man in Jason Whitlock talking about Sinners was nakedly racist. How? How so? Because the only thing I can think of that was considered racist, what he's probably talking about, is when they denied the white people from coming inside the barn. And Django did similar things like that. And that was directed by Quentin Tarantino. Excuse me. Right, and let me just make sure, because I don't want to keep saying Quentin Tarantino if that's not in fact, the director. Um, Quentin Tarantino was right. So yeah, what are we talking about, Jason Whitlock? What exactly are we talking about? I think you're making it more racist than it I guess was aiming to be. And if you're not, if you're a non-African American, a non-black person, a non-brown person, a non-melanated person, I got to use all those terms to be politically correct right now. If you're none of the things I just mentioned, did you feel the film was racist? Please see me in the comments and let me know if you thought the film was racist. Again, I'm not here to talk about racism when I'm talking about Sinners. I'm just here to report what I came across with Jason Whitlock and what he had to say. How can a black person be racist when we're not in positions of power? Racism is about power. Okay? The ability to deny people of rights is racism. human rights. Can black people deny another race of human rights? I don't want to hear anything about racism when the reality of it, forget a film, all right? And I'm not forget a film. Is it a fact that black people at one point in time were owned? Is that a fact, Jason Whitlock? Is it a fact that in American history black people were owned like animals? Is it a fact that black people, if they ran, they were hung from trees? Is that a fact? Jason Whitlock, is that a fact? Uh, is it a fact that some black people had they put like cast iron collars around their neck with poles with chains in case they wanted to run and leave, abandon their owners in the middle of the night? They needed to hear the bells shaking. Is it a fact that black women were used as sexual objects? And I could go on and on and on. Just miss me with the racism talk, Jason Whitlock. And anyone who agrees with Jason Whitlock talking about nakedly racist, just miss me. Let's just stick to the fact that this is a fictional film. It was well done. And let me just say something. Jason Whitlock, like I said, this was one episode that he covered where he was thrashing Sinners movies, which he's entitled to not like the movie. I'm not saying he's not entitled to have his opinion. But the term nakedly racist is in my opinion. I agree with Godfrey. It is on a coon level. It is definitely coon material. But he also had another episode with the panel, like I mentioned. I think it was a panel of three other gentlemen. So in total, it was four of them, if I'm not mistaken. And he talked about how it didn't like it he felt like the movie promoted people to choose sin, right? And it didn't really have any Christian values. First of all, it's not a Christian movie. I consider myself a Christian, although I haven't been a great example of a Christian, and I can admit that. But listen, Christians who are bashing sinners, if there are Christians out there like Jason Whitlock, then why you went in the theater to watch this movie? I believe it's R-rated, and it was never promoted as a Christian movie. Could we just stop with this? You know, if you say you're a Christian now, he obviously I'm assuming he watched the movie because he's a content creator. He has a podcast, a YouTube channel, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. That's why he saw the movie. Outside of him having this platform, would he have seen the movie? I don't know. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But outside of that, anyone who is a Christian, if you feel like you're gonna be appalled by seeing a R-rated movie with nudity and in I guess questionable content, then don't go see the movie. Stick to watching Christian made films. And I'm not saying that to be funny, but it's like he on a separate episode was thrashing the movie about it didn't like conclude with any type of real, I guess, Christian values. Or this was not a Christian movie. It's a fictional movie with vampires. It has vampires for you know for goodness sakes. It has vampires in it. What are we talking about right now? Are we analyzing Nightmare on Elm Street movies like this? Are we analyzing Friday the 13th movies like this? Chainsaw Massacre like this? Like, come on. Or is it conveniently dissected because it's an all black cast and a black director? It's like it almost seems like he's jumping on the bandwagon of trying to thrash the movie for the sake of that it was made by Ryan Coogler. If Quentin Tarantino made it, would he even be speaking on it? All right. So let me let him finish, and I'm gonna go into Godfrey.
Have you seen maybe other? The movie that they did with Ada DuVernay and the Central Park Five on Netflix. It's pretty nakedly racist because it's telling a lie about the Central Park Five. If you've actually watched them confess to their crimes with
the Central Park Five. If you're familiar with the Central Park Five, those were five black. I want to say they were teens. Allegedly, they were falsely accused of attacking a white female jogger, if I'm not mistaken, and so he's bringing that up now too. So the part that I didn't show you, he started talking about Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony. Then he's talking about it's nakedly racist, and now he's bringing up the Central Park Five. Jason Whitlock, if you don't, if you're unhappy with the fact that you were born black, just come out and say this. Let me say something right now. There's some black people that actually unhappy with being black, and I would prefer those people actually express why they feel that way, because it could be trauma from the past. Maybe you were teased, maybe you were bullied by other black people, maybe you just are not happy with where black culture is going, which I myself, which is this is why I speak against certain actions of the of a certain few in the black community. I'm not happy with it, but by no means do I not like being black. I'll make that clear. Am I unhappy with some actions of some of the people in our community? Absolutely, I'm unhappy with it, and I'll talk against it. I'll stand against it. But Jason Whitlock sounds like he just, you know, behind closed doors is not happy that he's black. And maybe I'm reaching. And if I'm reaching, and it's proven that I'm reaching, then I apologize for it. I can apologize for it. But I don't understand where he's going with all of this. We're talking about a fictional movie here, and he just went, he went from the Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony, to it's nakedly racist, to the Central Park Five. Can we stick to the movie and what you didn't like about the movie? What is going on right now? This is exactly why Godfrey said what he said, and I'm gonna play that. Let me just let this finish. I promise I won't interrupt again. Let's go.
Aaron sitting there, but this is the most nakedly racist. This movie, Sinners, says white people are the devils. It's as if Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam wrote this movie in 1930. Like what?
Wow, he bought Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. Wow, you're going all over the place. This guy lost it. Let's get straight to Godfrey.
So I saw the movie Sinners, and I left with a smile. I really did. But I'll talk about that on another video. I just want to counteract what Jason Whitlock said. Jason Whitlock is no stranger to criticism from us. It's okay to not like the movie. I know some friends that saw it, said, I liked it, I liked the way it was shot, but I'm not really into horror and stuff like that. That's cool. You don't have to like it. That's fine. This is what art is about. What Jason Whitlock, I felt as if he went to the movies just to shit on it because it got all this hype. It's doing very well, killing in the box office. It's an original script. Ryan Coogler has an amazing deal that I think only Tarantino has, and now he has it. He owns a lot of property. It's such a wonderful thing. Him and Michael B. Jordan together are just this dynamic force. And I think he went there just to shit on it. Because he said this was nakedly racist.
I found this movie, Sinners, to be the most nakedly racist movie that I've ever seen.
First of all, what the fuck does that mean? Nakedly. Is it openly racist? How was it racist, though? There were people picking cotton in this movie. It's the South. Black people are living in shacks. It's poverty, right? It's still racism. It's Klan symbolism. It's Jim Crow. It's lynching. It's where is the racist part? This is really myopic shit, bro. You are a pro-hater, bro. You really are.
I just have to say also, and I'm sorry if you haven't seen the film, because some of what I'm saying, and I'm sure what Godfrey has said may be a spoiler for you, but I believe there were Native Americans also in the movie. Correct me in the comments if you saw the movie. If the Native Americans, when they were chasing the Irish, I guess he was Irish because of his accent. When they were chasing the guy and he was running to the house, the men on the horses seemed like they were Native Americans, if I'm not mistaken. All right. What happened to the Native Americans? Is that racist? because he's picking and choosing what he wants to speak on from the film, and he wasn't even direct about what he was speaking on. How was it nakedly racist? Be more specific when you say stuff like that. If you're going to critique a film, be specific about what you're criticizing from the film. That's just my take on that. Let's continue.
Literally, what the fuck were you watching? Where you saw black people being racist? I don't understand. I think they pay you. Is there a coon track, not a contract? Is there a coon track that you have? There's a lot of you out there. There's a lot of you black people that literally, I swear, you're paid by somebody of a higher power, sends you niggas out there to fuck black progress up, like they did the Black Panthers, like that fucking coon that infiltrated the Black Panthers and got Fred Hampton killed, like the people that fucked up SNCC with Stokely Carmichael, all the different groups that black people tried to do to progress, even the gangs were first started off as things to help the black community. Well, infiltrators, black people that acted as gang members came in and fucked things up too, to start fights amongst people. So I saw the movie.
Do you feel that passion from Godfrey? I feel that passion. I feel that passion. And there's nothing racist about what Godfrey is saying. Why? Because these are factual things that's happened within the black community to black people. And again, we're not in positions of power, so how are we racist? We've always been on the receiving end of getting shit thrown in our face. I don't enjoy having discussions like this because I know for those who are not melanated, it comes across as, oh, you're divisive. You just want to promote racism. How am I, how? How? I'm in control of what? We are in control of what? And we're not talking about the trinkets that some of us have gotten, some of the access that we were given. I told you I forgot which episode it was that, things are ran like a club. There's going to be certain positions you'll never know about because they don't want you in those positions. And this is a fact. You could say, oh, this you're just making stuff up. Am I? Am I making stuff up? Listen, I've been blessed to be alive 45 years on my way to 46. I'm not even going to make this a racial topic. What do you think about what Godfrey had to say about Jason Whitlock? Was he right? Was he wrong? Hit me in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Keep it respectful. All right? Is Jason Whitlock cooning? I say yes. And I actually happen to like Jason Whitlock. Again, we're not going to always agree on different subjects, but on this one, Jason Whitlock, what are you talking about? Jason Whitlock, just come out and say if you had an opportunity, you probably wouldn't want to be black. If you had the chance to change your who you are, you probably wouldn't want to be black. And I think there's a few people out there like that. But just be honest. I respect honesty. Just say, you know what, I'm black, but if I had my way, I wouldn't want to be black. And I can respect that. I wouldn't hate the person for saying that. That's fine. I would like them to elaborate, though. They don't have to, but I would like them to elaborate. Why don't you like being black? Right? Because I love being black. Right? And I've said also in one of my episodes, I just wouldn't want to be around in the time period when we were picking cotton or when we were being hung from trees. I'm blessed that I was born when I was born. But even still, without the history that black people have had in this country and across the world, because black people weren't just owned in America, by the way. All right. I'm just putting that out there for those of you who may not have known that. We weren't just owned in the United States. All right. Unfortunately, we were owned in Africa. We were owned in other places as well. Brazil, and so on and so forth. All right. I'm not a historian, so I'm not going to go deep into it. You'd have to just do your own research. But the only reason why I'm even bringing that stuff up is because Jason Whitlock decided to turn this into some type of, Ryan Coogler is racist, nakedly racist for making this film. The film is nakedly racist. Really? with the history that our people have undergone, had to go through, nakedly racist for a fictional film with vampires. Just stop it. Stop it. Listen, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next episode. And I'll also see you in the comments. See you in the comments. Take care.